What if I told you that the reason you feel behind in life isn't because you're failing, but because you're comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel? What if all the stress, the fear, and the pressure you feel right now is actually a sign that your life is quietly shaping you for something bigger? What if the moments you think are delays, the nights you stayed up worried, the days you felt stuck, are actually the exact preparation you need to become the strongest, wisest, and most unstoppable version of yourself? Imagine stopping the race, taking a deep breath, and realizing your pace was perfect all along, that your path, your timing, your growth were never late. For the next few minutes, I want to show you how just 30 intentional minutes a day can completely transform how you feel about your life, your purpose, and your potential. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll finally see you were never behind, you were always becoming. What if the only reason you feel lost, stuck, and constantly behind is because you've been comparing your real life to someone else's edited version? Imagine this. You wake up, open your phone, and within seconds, your brain is hit with images of people winning, achieving, smiling, celebrating, and without even realizing, you compare their highest moments to your most confusing ones. This comparison doesn't just steal your joy, it steals your direction. It convinces you that your journey is wrong, your pace is slow, and your efforts are not enough. But the shocking truth is that you're not truly behind. You're simply trapped in a cycle that was never meant for you. Comparison is like a silent poison. It doesn't shout, it whispers, it tells you that you should have done more by now, been more by now, achieved more by now. It makes you believe that the world is moving at lightning speed while you're stuck in slow motion. But what if the people you admire, the ones you think are ahead, are also comparing themselves to someone else? What if everyone is secretly chasing a timeline no one understands but everyone fears? Every time you compare, you sabotage your own growth. You stop seeing your progress because you're too busy counting someone else's steps. You stop valuing your journey because you're focused on someone else's destination. And the tragedy is that comparison doesn't just delay your success, it destroys your clarity. You start living life as if you're in a race, forgetting that the only person you were ever meant to compete with is the version of you from yesterday. The reality is no one posts their failures, their breakdowns, their lonely nights, or the moments they doubted everything. No one shows the chapters where they struggle to hold themselves together. You only see the ending of a story they spent years writing, and you expect your first draft to look like their final masterpiece. That's why you feel behind. Not because you're failing, but because the comparison is unfair from the beginning. The moment you stop comparing is the moment you start living. When you finally pull your energy back from everyone else's life and invest it into your own, you discover something powerful. You were never late, never slow, never behind. You were simply distracted by noise that was never meant to guide your path. Your journey becomes clearer, your confidence returns, and your progress accelerates. Not because life suddenly gets easier, but because you finally step into your lane, your pace, your purpose. What if the timeline you think you're late for never actually existed? What if the pressure you feel, the panic that wakes you up at night, and that heavy voice telling you you should be further in life is built on expectations that were never yours to begin with? Imagine realizing that every standard you're chasing, marriage at a certain age, success by a certain age, stability by a certain age, was quietly planted into your mind by society, family, friends, and culture, and without questioning it, you started treating someone else's checklist as your destiny. That's the shocking part. You aren't behind in life. You're just following a path that was never designed for you. Your timeline is not late, it's unique. You are not supposed to bloom when others bloom. A seed doesn't grow at the same speed as a tree. A river doesn't move at the same pace as the ocean. Yet somehow you've convinced yourself that your worth depends on matching the timing of people who come from different stories, different wounds, different blessings, and different battles. How can two lives that are nothing alike be measured by the same clock? Think of all the people who found their purpose late, people who built empires after 40, found love after 50, or discovered their talent after everyone else doubted them. They weren't late, they were aligning. They weren't slow, they were preparing. Life was shaping them in ways they couldn't understand at the time. And the same thing is happening to you right now. You don't see the invisible work happening inside you, the patience being built, the resilience being carved, the character being strengthened. You think nothing is moving, but your soul is shifting. You think you're stuck, but life is quietly positioning you. You think you're delayed, but maybe you're simply being protected from something you're not yet ready for. The moment you accept that your timeline is yours alone, everything changes. The panic softens, the pressure loosens, the fear of falling behind disappears because you finally understand that life isn't a universal race, it's a personal unfolding. The shock is this: you were never meant to keep up, you were meant to grow at the speed of your own becoming. And when you embrace your unique timing, you stop chasing deadlines and start chasing depth. You stop forcing life and start flowing with it. You stop asking, why am I not there yet? And start realizing I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. What if the reason you feel overwhelmed, exhausted, and constantly behind is because you've been told your whole life that success comes from big dramatic breakthroughs, when in reality, it's the small, boring daily steps that actually change everything? What if the shocking truth is that the life you dream about isn't 10 years away? It's 30 minutes away, 30 minutes of alignment, 30 minutes of being intentional instead of distracted, 30 minutes that most people ignore, waste, or underestimate. Yet those same 30 minutes could completely transform the direction of your entire future. We grow up believing that to fix our life, we need huge effort, a massive plan, a perfect routine, endless motivation. But that mindset is what keeps people stuck for years. Because when the goal seems too big, the brain shuts down. You procrastinate, you avoid, you wait for the right time. And while you wait, life continues without you. But imagine if instead of chasing big leaps, you committed to small alignment. Imagine if for 30 minutes a day, you focused on the things that actually matter: your clarity, your goals, your healing, your growth. It sounds simple, almost too simple. That's why it's shocking how powerful it is. Small, daily alignment beats big, occasional effort every single time. A person who spends 30 minutes a day learning will always outperform a person who studies for 7 hours once every month. A person who spends 30 minutes a day exercising will always be healthier than someone who works out intensely twice a year. And a person who spends 30 minutes connecting with themselves, reflecting, breathing, planning, will always feel more grounded than someone who tries to fix their life in one emotional breakdown. We fail not because we are incapable, but because we underestimate the power of consistency. We think 30 minutes won't matter, but 30 minutes every day for 1 year is 182 hours. That's 182 hours of becoming stronger, clearer, smarter, calmer, and more aligned than the person you were before. That's how people change. Quietly, slowly, consistently, without applause, without showing anyone. Most people are waiting for a miracle. They want the perfect opportunity, the perfect motivation, or the perfect mood. But life doesn't transform because you get lucky. Life transforms because you show up daily, even when no one is watching. And the real shock: the moment you commit to small alignment, life stops feeling chaotic. Your mind stops feeling behind. You finally start feeling in control. Not because everything changed at once, but because you finally did. What if the reason you feel unworthy, insecure, or constantly behind is because you've allowed the world to convince you that your value depends on what you achieve instead of who you are becoming? What if the biggest lie you've been believing is that your milestones define you? Your job title, your money, your relationship status, your achievements, your timeline? And because of that lie, every time someone else achieves something you haven't, you feel smaller, even though your value is never supposed to be measured by these things in the first place. The shocking truth is this: most people feel behind not because they aren't growing, but because they've tied their self-worth to society's scoreboard, a scoreboard that was never built with your life, your challenges, your dreams, or your journey in mind. It's like judging a fish by how fast it can climb a tree. No matter how hard it tries, it will always feel like it's failing. You have been conditioned to chase milestones as if they are proof you deserve love, respect, or happiness. But milestones don't show your heart. They don't show your character. They don't show your resilience, your battles, your growth, or your courage. Someone can achieve everything the world praises and still be empty, lost, or broken inside. Someone else can be quietly healing, rebuilding, learning, and evolving. And the world may not applaud, but that person is becoming powerful in ways no milestone can measure. Your value is not a checklist. It's not a timeline. It's not something you earn. It's something you already have. You were valuable the day you were born, and nothing you achieve or fail to achieve can increase or decrease that. But here's the shocking part: the more you chase external validation, the further you drift from your true self. You stop listening to your heart and you start listening to pressure. You stop living for meaning and you start living for approval. You stop following your own path and you start forcing yourself onto someone else's. Imagine how different your life would feel if you stopped tying your worth to milestones. Imagine the freedom of knowing you're enough, even when you're still growing. Imagine the peace of realizing you don't need to prove your value by reaching a certain level by a certain time, because the moment you understand your worth has nothing to do with your milestones, the pressure lifts, the comparison fades, the fear of being behind disappears, and you finally see yourself not as someone who is late, but as someone who is limitless. What if the only reason life feels heavy, rushed, and exhausting is because somewhere along the way you stopped living and started racing? What if your anxiety, your fear of being behind, your constant tension isn't coming from your actual life, but from the pressure to keep up with a race that was never meant for you? That's the shocking truth. Most people don't feel behind because their life is slow. They feel behind because they turn their life into a competition. We've been conditioned to believe that everything is a race. Who succeeds first? Who gets stable first? Who finds love first? Who becomes financially strong first? But races are built for one thing: speed, not happiness, not fulfillment, not peace. And when you turn your life into a race, you stop paying attention to what truly matters. You stop seeing your growth. You ignore your progress. You stop honoring your pauses, your healing, your recovery, your learning. You begin to believe that slow equals failure, that rest equals weakness, and that being different means being behind. But what if life isn't supposed to be rushed? What if the pace you're forcing yourself to move at is actually damaging your mental clarity, your creativity, your confidence, and your sense of purpose? When you race, you don't notice the beauty around you. You don't feel the lessons within you. You don't appreciate the moments passing by you. You're too busy chasing the next thing, terrified of falling behind, without realizing you're losing yourself in the process. Feeling behind doesn't come from lacking progress. It comes from comparing paces. When you look at someone who's running faster, you assume you're slow, but you don't know the chapters they skipped. You don't know their sacrifices. You don't know what they lost to gain what they have. And you don't know the blessings life is saving for you by not giving you the same path. The truth is, when you stop racing, you start living, you reconnect with your own rhythm, you start making choices aligned with your purpose, not your fear. You begin to value inner growth more than outer speed, and slowly life starts to make sense again. Your anxiety fades, your confidence returns, your path becomes clearer, not because you ran faster, but because you finally slowed down enough to understand it. You're not behind, you're simply living at a pace meant for your soul, not the world, and that pace is what will lead you exactly where you're meant to be. What if the very thing you're calling delay is actually the exact preparation you need for the life you're meant to live? What if everything you think is slowing you down is secretly strengthening you, shaping you, and positioning you for a future that requires a wiser, deeper, more resilient version of you? The shocking truth is this: you're not behind at all. You're becoming we've been taught to chase results, to celebrate only the finished moments, the wins, the achievements, the milestones. But no one celebrates the becoming. No one claps for the nights you cried but kept going. No one applauds the days you wanted to give up but showed up anyway. No one sees the inner battles you're fighting, the emotional weight you're carrying, or the fears you're walking through. But these are the very things that are shaping you into someone unstoppable. The world may not see it, but your growth is happening in silence, in shadows, in spaces no one else notices. What if the heartbreak you went through wasn't a setback but a redirection? What if that delay in your career isn't punishment but protection? What if the confusion you feel right now is not a sign that you're failing but proof that you're evolving into someone who no longer fits into your old life? Becoming is uncomfortable. Growth feels messy. Transformation rarely looks beautiful while it's happening. People don't realize that the strongest trees grow the slowest. The most powerful storms shape the toughest survivors. The most meaningful journeys require time, patience, and layers of becoming. And that's exactly what's happening to you. Life is not denying you, it's developing you. It's allowing you to gather the wisdom, strength, emotional maturity, and clarity you'll need to handle the blessings waiting for you. You're not just moving toward your future, you're growing into the person who can sustain it. Because a blessing given too early becomes a burden. A dream achieved too soon becomes overwhelming. Timing isn't just about the dream, it's about you being ready for the dream. You're not behind, you're unfolding, you're not late, you're being prepared, you're not failing, you're forming into the person your future needs. And one day, when everything finally clicks, you'll look back and realize that every delay was direction. Every pause was protection. Every slow season was preparation. You were never behind. You were always becoming. In the end, remember this. You were never meant to compete, rush, or chase anyone else's timeline. You were meant to become, to grow, to evolve at the speed that your soul understands. Every comparison, every fear, every moment you felt behind was only a distraction pulling you away from the truth. You are exactly where you need to be to become who you're meant to become. Your journey isn't late, it's intentional. Your pace isn't slow, it's sacred. And the life you dream of isn't waiting for the perfect moment. It's waiting for the aligned version of you to finally step into your power. So breathe. You're not behind. You're becoming stronger, wiser, and more prepared than you realize. Trust your timing. Trust your growth. Trust the unseen progress that is shaping you even when life feels slow or silent. One day, everything will make sense in a way that brings tears to your eyes and peace to your heart. Thank you for giving your time, your attention, and your heart to this message. I'm grateful you listened, and I'm proud of how far you've come, more than you may ever admit. Keep going, keep growing, keep choosing yourself with courage. Good luck on your journey ahead. May you walk with clarity, strength, and faith in your own becoming. And remember, your story is far from over. The best chapters are still being written. Thank you, and may your next steps be the ones that change everything.